What about the finances, Charles? In the same way that we're seeing baseball struggle,
Yeah.
there's no question about it. Has that been hammered out that the league and the players know what the finances would be for a season that they're going to plan on having in full, but with no fans? Revenue would be obviously removed from that. I mean, or is that coming to the NFL too?
So what's interesting to me, everyone's talking about force majeure. Like, you know, if the league, the collective bargaining agreement, depending on how you interpret it, is, hey, once the season kicks off, the union's going to have the stance that, hey, players are getting paid. Like, this is their salaried year kicks in. Everyone's getting paid for whatever you're on the hook for over the course of the season once we play a regular season game. I think the bigger question now is, or at least one of the big questions that looms, is sort of how will the cap be affected? It's derived from revenue, and if revenue dips with fans not showing up, shouldn't the cap technically withdraw? And I've asked a couple of teams about, what are you talking about? Like, you clearly are still trying to do contracts and extensions, and there's all this uncertainty. I think what's interesting is, you have some teams that believe what's going to end up happening is there's going to be a flat cap in 2021, that the union and the NFL are going to figure out a way to negotiate out a cap that doesn't rise but doesn't fall. And then somehow the money that they take, so say it would have dipped, $20 million per team next season. They flatten it out. They take that $20 million and they spread it out over the length of the collective bargaining agreement. So you're essentially robbing Peter to pay Paul down the line, and that way you're keeping teams from having this recession in the cap that could wreak havoc on their rosters. Now, I think even a flat cap is going to wreak some havoc.
Oh yeah,
but it's pretty clear they're already talking about how to keep this from rolling back. The union doesn't want the cap to roll back. I think a lot of NFL owners don't want the cap to necessarily roll back, particularly ones that have cap-heavy rosters really already pressed up against it.
Yeah, man. There's not a single planner of rosters, not a single one, that thought in a million years the salary cap in the NFL would do anything but go up. Not a single one.
Yeah.
So I know that's down the line. I'm just trying to figure out if we're going to see at some point the conversation that the folks in baseball are struggling with right now, or maybe the NBA and the NHL is doing behind the scenes a little bit better than what baseball is, will be coming soon to the NFL.
I think that the NFL is very aware of the negative impact that the negotiations have had on baseball right now, and I think the union's very aware of the negative impact that negotiations have had on the product. And moving forward, I think the only way, at least when I talk to particularly people from the union, the only way they think that ends up being, something that has to be a conversation is if we get to the point where we're going to start erasing games or there's a chance the season doesn't happen. And I still think almost everyone I talk to has the Stephen Ross, vantage point. It's going to happen. Like, we believe the season's going to happen now. It's just figuring out exactly how it's going to happen. And I frankly think that bridge was crossed when the league comes out and they bring out medical experts and they bring out Jeff Miller and they start talking about, hey, we know we're going to have positive tests. It's going to happen. Like, but we're going to have a plan in place to deal with positive tests. To me, you're thinking beyond, hey, we just have to shut down. You're thinking of all the trapdoors that exist and how to deal with those so that you can have a season in place as best you possibly can.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.